if you feel as though that where you are, or there's almost like a family, these friends, these people you look forward to being with, or who's going to say something nice to me today. Like, you never know that one thing you say may pick somebody up and get them when they're down. So that's ultimately, like, I think we all should kind of have that mentality when we're in rooms and in spaces. Bring your light, let it shine.
Yes. Oh, I love that,
Yeah.
Adam. I love it. Hi, it's me, your teacher turned CTIO friend, Diane Doersch, and this is Beneath the Water. Hi there. Today I'm here with Adam Phyall. Is that how I say your last name? Because you're just Adam to me, or Ask Adam 3, as I know as well. And my goodness, we met years ago. I think it was a technology and learning event. I had just moved into the CTIO position in Green Bay Area Public Schools. And so here I was, a small town tech director, now CTIO of Green Bay. It's like I need to get out and learn what these large school districts are doing. And I remember getting invited to a tech and learning, and there was this guy who was just always funny, always welcoming, came up with the wittiest stuff, talked about the problems and the technology, with the technology that we had at the time. So I knew what you were talking about. I could totally empathize, and I knew you came from a larger school district, but it's like, oh yeah, that's happening to me too. But then as we continued, I think in more circles together, it's like, Here's my friend Adam. Ask Adam 3. This is Adam.
Yes.
I love Adam.
Yeah, back when Twitter was a fun place to be on and stuff.
Yes, for sure. So, yeah, it was a great time. And I almost used the phrase that so many of us grew up together in tech leadership, I think, because of these opportunities that we had.
Yeah, and funny thing, I want to say probably during the time when we first met, I wasn't sitting in the big seat as a technology director. It was that seat I was aspiring to get into and to sit in. And it was one of those things where we even talked about this at times where those seats were things that were kept from a lot of folks. There was a lot of times where I did not see a younger group of folks sitting in those seats. There was not a lot of diversity in some of these roles. And I was trying to break through that ceiling and getting those opportunities to, sit in the big chair, make those big decisions.
That's a really good point, Adam, because yes, same thing with me. When I came onto, onto the larger national, there weren't a lot of female and female of color. Me and Sandra Paul, maybe, that was it. And so you're right that at the time, and I can't say for women, at least that's gotten better. Our COSIN leadership survey says that actual women in leadership seats in school districts, that percentage has gone down versus up, despite all the work that we've done.
Yeah, because it was one of those things where you often have a lot of folks that are in the specialist roles and in the coaches roles, which, no offense or not downplaying those, but it's like, okay, what's that? How can they break through to that next level and get that leadership position where they are learning and being the check riders and those decision makers? Because, it's a huge difference between being a coach and a specialist and being a CTO or a technology director or chief information learning officer. Huge difference in how you're treated at times.
Yeah, that darn title, right?
Yes.
It does make a difference.
Even talking to a vendor, they talk to you totally different when they realize that you can write checks.
Yeah, when you're the decision maker, that is so true. Yeah, so really good point. And no, I don't think I realized that you were more in a classroom practitioner role or something like that. Tell us more about your pathway to leadership.
Yeah, so I originally was a high school science teacher, but I was always that person that was figuring out the cool thing to do with technology in the classroom. And not just a cool way to implement it, but really to get my kids involved and engaged in the learning process. I brought in everything from PlayStations in the classroom to doing stuff. And I was that classroom that was always the loud, noisy room. Even now I look at podcasting, I'm like, I missed my opportunity here. Because I was doing podcasting with my kids back in like 2006, 2005. When Adam Carolla first started doing podcasting, I was doing it with my students.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a Mr. Phyology Biology podcast. That was our podcast. We were using Podbean, putting it out on iTunes. And I saw how it was engaging and having my kids do things. And so folks at the district level noticed the engagement and my test scores were so high. They were like, we need you to do this with other teachers. And so I found myself spending more time out of the classroom helping other teachers than in the classroom. And then I went to my superintendent. I'm like, hey, I can't continue to spend time out of the classroom helping other teachers and not in my classroom because now my teaching is starting to suffer. My kids are like, man, we want our teacher. We've had to sub so many times. So then they created an opportunity for me. I think when I met you, I was working through our Title I program, really ensuring that the technology we were purchasing, the iPads and the Promethean boards, teachers were using those to enhance instruction. And then from that, I got the opportunity to become an instructional technology director in Kansas City, Missouri. So I was in Georgia at the time. So I had to leave the state to become a technology director. Going back to our conversation earlier, it's like you have to get in the club.
Yep. So that jump from teacher to administrator is a huge jump.
Yeah. So you have to find where those opportunities are. And going back to meeting you and being a part of that tech and learning crew, I got a chance to really meet some peers and lean on them. When I was doing some things like, hey, I'm rolling out these iPads, who's done this before? Oh, how are you setting up your users? All these things. So being able to kind of piggyback on what some great things that were happening and pick everybody's brains. And then also people were like, oh, I'm learning from you, Adam. I'm like, oh, wow, you're learning from me. But really building that community has really helped me grow. And I got an opportunity to come back to Newton County where I was at and take over as a technology director of technology and media services. Served in that capacity for about 6 years. And back in 22, I left that job, took an opportunity with Future Ready Schools to become their director of professional learning and leadership. And I've been doing that since then, working with districts across the country, ensuring equitable access of resources for all students to achieve maximum outcomes.
Wow. Yeah. Now, where did the doctor part come into this? I apologize. I should have called you Dr. Adam Phyall.
It's one of those things where I had already gotten my master's degree. My wife and I did that. And then we also decided to go get our educational specialist degree together.
Wow.
And I was doing a lot of the work already. And somebody just said, hey, Adam, you're already doing a lot of this work. It'd be a great idea to go to school and get your doctorate in what you're already doing and work because no one's doing this stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. So I didn't have anything else to do with my time and spent some time. So I decided to pursue my doctorate degree in digital transformation and really focus on the work that we were doing in our district to create new opportunities for our students through the use of technology and best practices.
And I have seen you work the inspiration. It's interesting. It's like, if we were to teach a class on inspiration, I'm not sure how we would do that. I can say, Adam, you are inspiring. What do you think are the traits of being inspirational? Do you say in the morning, I'm going to inspire people? I don't think so. What is it about you that causes you to be inspirational?
Well, I wish I could tell you a really great story about it, but I look at how I was not inspired. As a student. And it was things that I saw that was missing through my educational journey as a student. The case of being othered in a classroom, being kept out of opportunities. And I would wish I could have been more involved in my learning. And that always just irked me, through my educational process. And I was like, when I become a teacher, I'm going to make sure that I include my students. I'll make sure that they see themselves in the classroom, that they feel engaged in what's happening, and that they look forward to the next day. And I use that mentality in the classroom. And then when I started my professional learning, I wanted to bring that same excitement in the classroom that I do with teachers. When I was I'm like, hey, this is my kids love it. This is what we do. And they were like, oh my gosh, I'm excited because you're excited. And, when I became a department leader and running a team, same thing. It's like, I love what I get a chance to do. And it's one of those things where someone once told me, we have to get out of that I have to and go to I get to.
Right.
It's like, I get to work with you.
We are so fortunate, yes.
I get to work with you. I get to have this conversation with you. Not like, I got to talk to you. I got to do this interview. But it's like I get to do these things. I'm really excited about it. So once you change that I have to I get to, it makes things more engaging and fun. And you
Mm-hmm.
look forward to it because like, oh my gosh, I get to do this. I can't believe I get to do this because I could be any other place, but I'm here right now in this moment. And that's what matters the most.
And we are so lucky, right? Because of that. That's interesting because, like people have said to me, Diane, you bring so much energy. And I'm like, wait, I'm just being me.
Yes.
I think I could say the same about you because just talking to you, we're like, come on, we could do it, and there's that energy. Does that come from the inspirational part or what do you think brings energy? When you enter a room, Adam's here. And there's energy that rises. Why is that?
It's one of those things where also I have this mentality of I want to know I was here. I want to know, I
Mm-hmm.
want people to know I was there. So somebody somewhere where if I'm in a room and I having a conversation, there's going to be some interaction. I hope that when I walk out, they're like, oh, I'm glad I talked to Adam that day. I'm glad, they may not even talk to me. That guy was over there smiling for some reason, and it made me smile. I don't know. Or, you know what? That guy over there has a lot of energy. I want to meet him at some point and talk to him or whatever the case may be. So I'm like, if I'm in the room, I want people to know that I was there, that I mattered, that I existed. And I think it kind of goes back to that thing I was saying back in school, that other situation,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and being that outsider at times in classrooms. And I know what it felt like to not be included in things at times,
Mm-hmm.
and to
Mm-hmm.
try to find my own way on my own. And I don't want anyone to feel that way. So when I go in the room, and even when I see people and I see someone isolated over there in the corner, I'm the kind of person that will walk over there like, hey, what's going on? Tell me about yourself, all this stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to
Mm-hmm.
engage with people. I want to have those conversations. It makes me a
Yes.
better person from talking to a person. I may learn something from you.
I love that part because, often when I am asked, what words of advice do you give or do you want to give? I say, go and find the person who's standing alone, especially here in technology. Some people might not be the most talkative, right? And so they need an invitation in.
Mhm.
And I think, that's part of your secret sauce as well, is that you bring others in. And I can, like you talked about being othered, you don't want people to feel that
Yeah.
way. So,
Because when you look at the statistics around like employment, salary is not number one.
no,
It's
no.
it's further down. Like hey, I need money. Like that's all well and good, but when you look at it's that sense of belonging, feeling valued, all those things are the top reasons why someone stays
Yeah, the
in a job.
culture.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so same thing with our students. If they feel that they belong, if they feel like they have a best friend in their school or in your workplace, you will stay there. You will put up with a lot of crap if you feel as though that where you are, or there's almost like a family, these friends, these people you look forward to being with, or who's going to say something nice to me today. Like you never know that one thing you say may pick somebody up and get them when they're down. So that's ultimately like I think we all should kind of have that mentality when we're in rooms and in spaces. Bring your light, let it shine.
Yes. Oh, I love that,
Yeah.
Adam. I love it. Yeah, and I am picking up that part about what part of your past then have you brought forward into leadership, as being the inclusive part then, because you've been on the other side. Are there any other traits or things you think in your leadership that you've brought from your experiences in the past?
Yeah. I always remember when I first decided I wanted to do something in the tech leadership role. Looking back at it, I was like, "What the heck was I thinking?" I walked into the at that time tech director's office, and I had done some professional learning for him here and there, so we had a relationship. And I said, "Hey, what do I have to do to be sitting in your seat one day?" Not that I'm trying to fire you or get you out of here, but what do I need to
You
do?
have
Yeah.
aspirations.
What do I need to do this?
Sure.
And he gave me some advice, but not really. 'Cause I think he felt a little threatened. Looking back at it, he probably felt a little threatened by me. And now he didn't really necessarily help me the most in that opportunity. So when I finally got the opportunity to become a technology leader and run my department, I made it a point to not gatekeep information.
Mm,
So, for
okay.
example, when
I like it.
when it was time for me to do my department budget, I brought in my team. We sat down. I wanted them to see where the money was spent. I wanted them
Yes.
to understand how I have to present to the board what goes into it. I wanted them to see contrast because here's my thing. I want them to be sitting in a director seat one day or whatever their future
Right,
aspirations were.
right.
Know how the sausage is made. Sometimes, leaders gatekeep information, and that's often how those rooms don't become as diverse as they could be because this one leader thinks that you're gunning for my job or you're trying to take me down. Like, no, I want to build you up and give you those opportunities. So as a leader, I always felt it was my job to prepare my team for what they want to be when they grow up. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up, too. So it's like, hey, how can I pour into you and give you opportunities?
Right.
So when I end up leaving my district to take my job with Future Ready Schools, they were able to fill my position with people that were already on my team.
I love it. You were succession planning, even, maybe you had that as a strategy.
And I was even
all the way along.
Before they got that, because they took my job, split it into two people. That's my little plug. It took two people to make one of me. But it was one of those things where I would find opportunities online on LinkedIn or just talking to another tech person or a superintendent. And I would tell my team members, hey, in this neighboring district, they're looking for this person. I think you're qualified for that. I can write you a letter of recommendation. I can let you see some other things here and there if you're interested. Because I want them to be successful in these roles. I wanted them to have opportunities to feed their families and to do these things. And I think that should be something every leader does, is prepare their team for whatever that next step is, whatever that may be. And they may not leave, but I'm like, the more the better our team will be. We'll be a more well-rounded team because I may get sick or go down or whatever, and somebody else can step up and keep the system running the way we want it to run. That's better for the district. It's better for the students. It's better for everyone involved.
Well, and I really like that part about kind of nudging people because, they might see that same job description that you saw and say, oh, no, that's not me.
Yep.
Right? But you took the time or take the time to push people a bit. And so I picked that up as a good leadership trait as well, moving forward. Did someone do that for you?
Well, my first director's job I had, it was so funny. The person who ended up becoming my coordinator actually was offered the position as the director in Kansas City. And she was like, I'm not ready to relocate and move my family, but I know somebody who's better. And she told the person, they reached out to me, and I was like, oh, you're just trying to get rid of me, huh? She was like, no, I think you'd be really great. And so that was she pushed me offered me that opportunity, and I met with the superintendent, took the job. And it was so funny when I came back to Newton County, I ended up hiring her as my coordinator. She ended up taking over when I left the district. So I think it really helps to have that person who's always looking out for you, to say like, hey, just like I'm doing it for somebody's doing it for me.
Right.
But even when I also do my keynote speaking or working in the district, one thing that I even do anytime I leave a district and I send my thank you for having me come in and speak or whatever, I always will give them a list of people who I know who are speakers as well.
Oh,
and I'll say, hey, next year if you do this, here are some people you may want to think about because you may not know the people that I know.
Yes.
And I just give them that list. And, if they ask somebody, they do. If they don't, they don't. But, hey, I'm providing you some people that I know who are really good.
That is really a good strategy because, you've already been there, but you have others who could fill that gap as well. So way to, share the wealth and things. Well, we're going to take a break for a minute, and we'll be back with Dr. Adam Phyall. You can tell he's an experienced podcaster. Okay, we are back with Dr. Adam Phyall, and I have loved talking with you. I'm just, I'm wondering, let's see, when we talk about your leadership, what do you want people to remember or know about you and the way you lead?
A couple of things. One, that I lead out of a place of love. And love doesn't mean that everybody can do what they want to do or get away with things, but they know that it's everything that I do is from the heart. I'm bringing it because it's important to our students. I care about the people that I get a chance to work with, and I want them to know that about me. And then the other piece is that you got to have fun. I want, my name to be synonymous with fun in the workplace. A little saying we used to have in my department, we have fun, but we get the job done. We come to work because you're with your work family a lot more than you are with your real family. You spend 8+ hours actively with these people, and you're lucky if you can get that much time with your family on the weekend. So when I'm in this workplace, I want us to have fun. I want us to be able to laugh, joke, but also everyone knows that we're getting all this stuff done at a high level. So that's why we are happy about our work. We come into work knowing that we're having fun and we're going to get these things. We're going to hit our milestones and we're going to overachieve in those areas. So really, fun, but getting the job done is something that people, I think even now in the places I've worked, they're always just like attached that to me. Like, we had fun working with Adam and we were really efficient too.
Yes. Well, I'm sure it's also because you have their back.
Yeah.
It sounds like, when you talk about leading out of love, I believe in that. I always talked about my department, how I love them all, so it's definitely, one of those heartfelt traits. Let's talk about a Northern Pike moment. When you fish, well, at least me as a Wisconsin fisher person, I never want to catch a Northern Pike because they just bring a lot of hazards. Have you ever had things where maybe the unexpected happened and you had to reroute and you learned something because of it?
Yeah, I almost going back to that love piece. It's it's the people part sometimes.
Yes.
Managing people can be very challenging because they bring who they are to the table. Almost like a teacher or a parent with their kids. They bring the best kid they got. They had better kids, they'd bring them kids, but this is what they got. That's what they bring. So, with your team, you have your team there and they bring all the baggage that they have with you. I think most leaders, whether you're a principal or superintendent, department chair or whatever, will tell you, hey, somebody's maybe going through a divorce. They may have a death in their family. Somebody's dealing with substance abuse or whatever the case may be, all these things. And then we're asking them to come do this job.
Right.
So having those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not a counselor. I'm not prepared to deal with this. But I think it's made me a better leader having those moments where I didn't know what to do. Where I had a situation where an employee's coming to me distraught and upset, and it's like, okay, let's sit down and figure this out. Forget that the fact you haven't closed any tickets the past week. Like, that's initially why I brought you in, because your tickets haven't been closed.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
but you're digging deeper.
All this happens, and I'm like, okay, wow, let me get the box of tissues. Let's figure this out,
Yes.
And that is where I think I've grown. I had to grow the most as a leader, was realizing that I need to put this work stuff aside, and I need to work with this person as a person and figure out what's the best route for them. And I've had to have people where I had to help them find something else to do. An analogy I always tell them is like, hey, a flower has to have the right conditions and the right environment to grow. This may not be the right soil for you. I can't grow this cactus in the Dominican Republic. Like, I got to put it in the desert. Like, maybe you need to be in the desert.
That's a good analogy.
So let's find out where you can be the most productive, because
flourish.
It ain't here. Like, but it's having those moments, and also as a leader having that, but then being able to leave that at work too.
Yes.
And not bring that home, because you can't have those moments where you're bringing that home and it makes you upset. It makes you sad. And you're like, oh my gosh, I had to have this thing and this person's going through all that. You can't fix all those.
Right.
But you can just help them and guide them in the right direction and continue to move and understand that you've done your part as a leader. Ultimately, I think is like kind of those Northern Pike kind of moments that I've had as a leader in those spaces.
And the part with the heart too. I think, like I said, just knowing that you're empathizing and you're caring and you're listening and putting aside the work part. Well, as we conclude, what are some of your words of advice for our new and aspiring leaders? You've got this career that's still going, learned a lot through it. What do you want to tell people?
Never stop learning. I know it sounds like kind of like Pollyanna, never stop learning, because there's always something new. It's always something changing, whether you are in a technology space or whatever kind of leadership space you're in. There's always a new strategy. There's always a new platform. So whatever you know today is going to change tomorrow.
Yes.
So figure out how you fit in those spaces and be ready and be agile and be flexible with that. And it's going to never stop learning. You mentioned earlier about, me continuing my degree and all those things. things. And I'm not telling you to go get your doctoral degree if you're listening. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of want to. You got to have it in order to do that. But you're always going to be learning. You're always going to be listening to podcasts or blogs or TikTok, following the right folks, listening to a podcast like this. You have to constantly be shining, working on your craft, getting better at those things. So you can't stop learning, or the world's going to pass you by, and you're not going to be productive for the people you need to be the most productive for. Because ultimately, our students deserve the best versions of ourselves. And we'll only become the best versions of ourselves if we keep growing and keep developing our talent and our skills. And also, like I mentioned with employees earlier, figuring out if that soil is the right soil for you. Because at some point, as a leader, you may grow to a certain level where you got to get out of that pot, like I'm going to a lot of plants and an analogy here, but sometimes a plant is limited by the soil that it's in. It's not going to get any bigger.
Right.
So when you put it down there and you plant it into the right soil, it will flourish and grow and do other things. So sometimes as a leader, you have to realize I've grown a little too much for this environment, and I'm not happy now. I'm coming to work thinking I should be doing something else, and I'm not there for my team and my people. So even as a leader, figuring out what's the right opportunity for you to expand and grow and try something else because your knowledge has grown to a level that this pot can't contain.
Wow. Yeah. Really good words of advice. And, your part about learning something new. When you came in here, I asked you about, because you're well coordinated. For those of you on the pod, he's got a lavender polo shirt on and then some Converse that are very good shape, and lavender as well. So how do you organize all that stuff?
Well, I initially started with a photo gallery. I had my Apple photos. I had a gallery called Kicks. I had all my sneakers. When I buy a new pair, I'd put it in there. I started color coding it. So I'd look at my photo gallery when I'd pick out an outfit. And recently, I've gotten into this whole vibe coding using Claude and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I could probably make my own app that would help me organize my shoes. And so sit around, next thing I know, it's like 2 a.m. I'm like coding. I'm using like Netlify, Airtable, GitHub, all these different things putting together. And so now I have it set up where I can snap a picture of my outfit. It will go through my collection and find something, give me 5 options based on what I'm wearing to be my choice. And then I could say, I'm going to wear that. Then I could save that outfit. I can put where I wore it, what date I wore it, all that fun stuff. So it's just one of those things where, and this is why I love about AI right now, you're just limited by your imagination.
Yes, yes.
It's not people talk about AI and cheating and all this stuff. No, it's now giving people that opportunity to have those ideas in their head and put them out in the world, because there's so many ideas that people have that are limited because I don't know who to talk to. I don't know the first step. Even now with AI, you can just ask it, what's the first step to do this? And it will kind of walk you through that process. I'm currently running for school board in my current district, and just getting into that whole political spectrum and figuring that out. I've used Claude as my campaign manager. Hey, what are the dates I need to have to turn in paperwork? How do I need to do this? All this stuff. So it's really kind of mapped it out for me, made it simple and easy. So, even when I look at AI, I think it really has democratized information to a lot of people out there in the world if we're actually doing what we can with it.
Wow. And so again, the learning piece you have taken to the next level. And the fashion stuff, it's like I can totally relate. And I might be, when this goes to market, I might be a new purchaser. So thank you so much. Adam, where can we find you out there in the world?
Well, of course, just check me out on LinkedIn, Adam Phyall, that's Phyall. Or just check me out on socials. Ask Adam, the number 3, because I'm the 3rd. So Ask Adam 3. Check me out. I'm on all those platforms.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for our time together. It's been a joy.
Thanks for having me.
This has been Beneath the Water podcast, hosted by me, Diane Doersch. Diane Doersch is executive producer, creative director, and editor. Brock Mende is our audio engineer and sound designer. Special thanks to Friends of Friends Recording in Chicago, Illinois. The link to the community can be found at the description below. Also, please subscribe and give us a 5-star review, because those reviews go a long way in helping us reach the people who will find a home here. Thanks for joining.